Hello, listeners. Welcome again to the Mysteries Unknown podcast with me, Hunter, the MC, and this is, once again, my segment Behind the Mist. I have a wonderful and lovely guest for you all today. You may recognize her as the voice behind Corey Vidalis from the Rolling in the Mist podcast. She is also on her resume an actress, short film director, and even a part-time model. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else, give it up for Bubba Bex.
Thank you. Hey, what up is Bex? Also, Corey Vidalis.
And she's with the crime family.
I'm with the crime family. Very happy to be here.
Put that on a coffee mug. All right. So, Bex, as I usually like to have people come up here, give us a history of your experiences with TTRPGs.
So my first exposure to the tabletop role-playing games would have to be, I think it was high school. One of my friends, it was actually a family tradition of theirs to get everyone in the family, even like extended, cousins, aunts, uncles, to play Dungeons and Dragons for Christmas. And like, it's something that they were carrying on for years. Like 20 plus players, because it was the whole family, and like you can imagine nothing got done. I think I was only there for maybe 2 sessions, and I think it was the same battle. But I loved the dynamic of just everyone creating their characters and all of these different moves and abilities that you could have. That it was something that during the pandemic, I remembered, something that I've always wanted to do was lead a campaign of my own. And so that's where I started jumping into homebrews and everything. And then it was shortly after that, working with Bravo and whatnot, that they asked me, the AWDLoot crew, they asked me to be a part of Rolling in the Mist. And I'm so glad that they did. It's been such a blast.
All right, and that's a perfect segue to tie into. So how did you and Bravo meet up, and what got you to be a part of the boys of the AWDLoot crew, as I like to call them?
Oh, yes, the Odd Boys. So let's see, it would have been... I'm trying to get that to stick. Just keep passing it around. So it was right before lockdown, and right after I moved to LA, that there's this program called Nosotros, which is like, it's primarily for like Latino filmmakers, actors, and whatnot. And they hold a lot of workshops and networking events. And I happened to be invited to their Christmas party, which was just like, a time for mingling, a time for just like, getting to know this program in and of itself. And I happened to bump into Bravo over by like the photo booth section. And, he's got such a friendly, open, and, warm personality that we clicked as friends, and we weren't entirely sure that we weren't already friends, which was funny because we're like, I don't know, we both have done like a lot of things around LA. Chances are we've already met. Whether we are official friends or not, let's make it official now. And then from there, because I've created my own projects, and then Bravo obviously has been working on a ton with the boys for a while. And since we hit it off, and I had expressed my interest of like, these are the things I like to do, the Dungeons and Dragons, making your own projects, kind of like, why wait for auditions when you can just create your own things while you're waiting for auditions? He and Kevin did an interview with me just to see if I could jive with them in general. And I got a stamp of approval, and immediately we went straight into recording projects, and it's been so much fun.
All right, so let's just kind of dive into your character that you do on Rolling the Mist, the lovely Corey Vidalis, which is the Rift of Persephone. Am I correct?
Yes, she is the Rift of Persephone. Like as far as how I came up with her, or.
Well, that's what I was kind of into. Is like, was that your original idea of Corey herself, or were there some other ideas you kind of just tossing around before you settled like this is her, basically?
Gotcha. Yeah. So this this game honestly was perfect for me. I am a huge Greek mythology nerd, so Persephone was definitely like my first one or two ideas. I also am a huge like anime nerd, I just like mythology in general. So I was actually curious about a nine-tailed fox character, but I heard that Pablo had his, but his was like from more of like a Korean background, so I was like, but you know what? Let's be real. Persephone has always been like at the top of my list as far as mythology stories go. So, you know what? Let me lean into that. I think that could be really fun. You know, you've got this spring aspect, you know, plants as like something that could feed into abilities. You've got the underworld aspect, which also really works well for, you know, crime. You know, it's you know, it goes both ways. Underworld. And you know, at first I was thinking, okay, Persephone, she's someone who you know, she's got a lot of pressure coming from her mom. Is that going to be an aspect in this story? Or, you know, what is her personality going to come through? Like, is it going to be soft, but she actually has like this hidden dark side or whatnot? But for me, whatever games I play, I always like to draw out the character just so that I can get kind of a feel of like, okay, who am I bringing to life here? It actually helps with like the voice. And what I had drawn was it was like a mixture of a reference piece of art from like an old-timey actress mixed together with kind of like that old Disney or like Betty Boop style. Mm-hmm. And when I presented this to the guys of like, hey, yeah, this is the vibe I'm getting the more I think about Persephone. You know, they were talking about like, okay, she seems like this kind of person. She seems like that kind of person. Pablo had said, I bet she sounds just like Harley Quinn. And that was where I was like, oh, let me play with that and see who she becomes. And she just, oh my God, she's so fabulous.
Yeah, because the voice definitely gives off the Margot Robbie vibes for sure.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. And I was like, that is a voice that is in my wheelhouse. I can absolutely do that. And oh my God, she like this character has been very surprising for me. You know, it was a wonderful place to be where, you know, just having fun and being a character that embodies like everything's gonna work out just fine. Like, I'm worried about nothing. And I like what I like. You know, she's very, very clear in who she is. Even as she's growing throughout the story. And that's been so fun. Like, even a little challenging, but I've loved playing that character.
Yeah. So also just a quick plug on behalf of Oddly really quick. If you go to the City Miss Garage on DriveThruRPG website, you can actually purchase and play as the characters from both seasons 1 and 2 on the Rolling in the Mist podcast. They all have their own power tags, weakness tags, and some improvements that you can play with them. So if you want to play as these amazing characters at your table, just go there and purchase them.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that. I've been happy to see that people they like us. They're getting some of our characters. It's been really, really cool to see.
Yeah, I bought them as always, and originally I was giving them to like people in the podcast, like because at first I figured like, oh well, let's see if they want to play, and then I asked Kevin Carpenter if it would be okay because I think I had someone wanted to play as Pablo's character that sounds like John Mulaney. You forget his name already off the top of my head.
Marty Blanc. Yeah.
I had someone ask if he could play Marty Blanc, and Kevin Carpenter's like, I appreciate that y'all want to do that, but just not for this one. I'm like, that's fair. So yeah,
true,
but just the fact, but these characters are just so cool. And my top one still is when Jason Samuel Payne. He's been just one of my favorite characters so far. But season 2, I've really been enjoying as well. So, and cutting back to Corey, we also can't forget her lovable service dog Spot.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That was kind of a challenge towards the end, especially as Corey was growing more independent and more grounded. I mean, one of her cards for him, because he was Cerberus had his own like card. The familiar, that's right. And one of the story things that, we were trying to figure out for her was like, is Cerberus always going to be like that kind of crutch for her? Because he is so amazing, obviously, with that whole like bark, hello, aspect
of Rules of Three that wasn't Ryan, I think, made that one up, I think. Just on the spot.
Oh my gosh, it was so funny. And it's like so dry with that voice of just like, they're here.
She's here.
Oh my gosh, honestly, I do wish we played a little bit more with that, but I know each of us we were so involved with just like what is happening with our own stories, and like I said, Corey was growing to be more independent, that it was kind of like, oh my gosh, I have to remember in the story, where is Spot? Is he somewhere around here, and is he okay? That was also a thing I was afraid of. I really wanted Cerberus to live. Maybe I was playing it a little too safe, but Spot, he's a good boy. I just want him to be okay.
All right, and I actually just thought about this because when I think Cerberus, most people think Hades, not Persephone. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to answer this if it's too big of a spoiler, but I'm just curious, is there a reason that Spot, aka Cerberus, is with Persephone and not Hades?
It's not a spoiler. I would say, when I was creating this character, imagining like, a rich heiress and whatnot, and how, what we've seen so far in the story is she's definitely someone that for a while was not being taken seriously. She is, the mafia thing seems to be really like a boys' club unless you make a name for yourself, kind of like, Minerva or your Juno, who's connected to someone who's strong. So to have Spot, I felt like that was probably something in the relationship between Mr. Vidalis and Corey, where he's just kind of like, Corey's small, she's weak, she's kind of more of like arm candy than anything. Let me just make sure she's got someone with her. Number one, to make sure she's safe, but also like kind of to keep her entertained. I saw that being the reason why Spot was given to her.
The first thought that immediately popped in my head as I'm thinking about this, it's like one of those comedy like breakup scenes where it's like, I'm leaving you and I'm taking the dog too.
Oh my gosh, yes, exactly. At this point, Spot's been with Corey for so long. Does Mr. Vidalis even know? Does he remember? He's so mysterious. So it's an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, and so I actually kind of a side tangent, but ties into kind of a little bit what we're talking about. I got the chance to be on a podcast called The RPG Goblin. And it's ran by a woman named Willow, and what she does is she just talks about various different tabletop RPGs.
Yeah.
And she had gotten the City of Mist books some time ago, but she's like, I hadn't read them through yet, but I really want to talk about them because they look good. And then she just did a social media search, and somehow it landed on me. And so I got to go on, and we just released the episode where I basically just go over like what City of Mist is. And of course, as always, whenever I talk about City of Mist, I have to mention Rolling in the Mist podcast because you guys were the inspiration for why I'm doing my own show on top of all that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Then I mentioned a couple scenes that from like y'all's show, like when Marty Blanc stole that scientist's powers after killing him.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Because I used that to talk about getting extra themes, because that's a game mechanic in the game. And then, yeah, just funny. So we got to do that, and I just talked about all these different things that go on in City of Mist and just parts I've done. And also, y'all did implement Roll 3 again after Otis got introduced and he had the pigeons in the sewer. Yeah, fuck you, Jerry.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no. We're full of the rule of threes. Oh my gosh. Poor Otis, he's just trying to live his life. Make sure everything's okay in the big city where all this rift madness is going on, and oh my god, the in and outs just were not giving him a break. But it was so funny. To bring you guys onto my rooftop. Yes, you live here? That was so good. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad that he was brought into this season and we just literally dragged him around for like a few episodes.
No, what we need to do is we need to start bugging Kevin Carpenter to make a character sheet for Otis. We need an actual character sheet for him now so he can be a playable character.
Oh yeah,
we need to bug him to do that.
Yeah, I could have sworn that he was a playable character. Did he really make up Otis on his own?
Okay, so when I interviewed him, because he was my first Behind the Mist interview that I did on here, and that was part of what we talked about, just because Otis is such a memorable character from that first season alone. He had him played out so much different than how it happened, because... So I'm assuming you've listened to all the first season by this point.
Oh, yeah.
So,
absolutely.
yeah, you know that Detective Strange and Leo and Dr. Leo were just completely ignoring the birds right off the bat. Even though that was part of their career theme, they were just ignoring the birds outright.
Yeah.
But Eugene, Eugene free, it's
Yes.
He's noticed the birds, being the kind of person Eugene is, and followed them, and that's how Otis got introduced. And that's that whole episode between Eugene and Otis was like one of my favorite episodes.
Oh my gosh.
From that first season. It's like, I'm starting to regret bringing you onto my rooftop. I'm starting to think all your friends are more than just birds.
Oh my gosh, yeah. You're making me want to listen to the seasons again. Oh man. There were a couple of clips like I had to save on my phone because I was like, I need to be able to listen to this. One of them was Lenny and Benny.
Lenny and Benny.
Lenny and Benny arguing about something. I don't even remember what, but the banter was so good. I had to save it. Definitely worth going. Like these are definitely seasons that you will enjoy like more than once, and I'm so glad like that we have this medium that we can just go back and listen.
I've listened to every episode of that podcast like at least 2 or 3 times because I say it has that replay value to where no matter how many times you listen to it over and over, you will still laugh just as hard as you did the first time you heard the episode. Because no matter when it gets how many times I'll hear it, when it gets to that, and when they're trying to escape the casino at the end of that heist, and Eugene goes, "Wind me!" I just instant cackling of laughter.
Wind me, yes. Oh my gosh, they're so good, so brilliant with making their characters, and I appreciate how they just commit to the bit. It's so good.
Yeah. Well, it also helps that the majority of them are also voice actors, so that skill really helps with them as well. They basically are improving and putting that to the test at the table.
Oh yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I've definitely felt like this has been such a nice environment to grow the improv skills, maintain the improv skills, and oh man, yeah, it's been so fun.
Yeah, but anyways, back to what I was talking about earlier. I got off track there for a second. When Eugene met Otis, how Kevin originally played it all went out the window. Basically, he went from being this so serious character to just being one of the most hilarious characters that people have gotten to know and love. Like on the City of Mist Discord, whenever Kevin Carpenter uploads an episode and it has something to do with Otis, people will leave parrot emoji reactions on the episode.
Oh yes, because crackers. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and
crackers.
And they'll also say like if there's a certain NPC that sticks around, they'll say, "Oh, here's the crackers of my game." Is what they'll literally describe it as. So
yes,
I almost forgot about crackers. I miss crackers.
Those crackers. Crackers must return. Oh my goodness. Yeah, absolutely agree. So good.
The game, it's already been established that like the characters from season 1 are still in the city doing other things because like Dr. Leo got mentioned a couple times here and there.
Oh yeah.
After the Caped Crew Crater Moonrock heist.
Oh yes. Yep.
It's like that's why they call me the Caped Crew Crater, Dad. I did not want to hear that story.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm happy for the cameos. Like that this is not a show where when you're done with the season that's the last time you'll see the characters ever. You'll definitely have a pop-up every now and then, and that's what brings people back, I think, for listening, is you never know who you're gonna hear from.
Yeah, but then also just kind of going into Corey's relationships with the crew, just looking at that, the interactions alone, because we got like how. Okay, remind me Jason's character's name again. That's
Leland Myers.
Yeah, her and Leland working under the Olympus Mafia family, basically. So they have that kind of connection together. Like, you guys have some moments here and there, but it's not as deep, I would describe it. And then I also love Marty and Corey's kind of like the father-daughter relationship they kind of like to have every now and then, like right before that moon heist started.
Oh my gosh, that's my favorite. That was my absolute favorite. Yeah. I would say the strongest relationships that, at least as far as we were able to share during the podcast up to this point, it's been, it's clear with how she met Marty and like why he's still around, even though, he gets annoyed or frustrated. And then, it's getting clearer, Leland and Corey's connection, and it actually gets pretty interesting there too. I won't say too much. And then for Bravo's character, Logan, he's got a lot going on personally, but I would say I would be interested in having more there, because everybody honestly has their own super interesting backstories and how they end up where they are. And Bravos does such a good job of having that mix of serious and funny with Logan's like inner turmoil. I'm like, I'm low key kind of like, somewhere down the line we should just have another In and Out season, because all of these characters are so great.
Yeah, it's like, and also the fun idea. What was it? The Kenny's or Lenny's restaurant they meet up at?
Oh yeah, Kenny's. Yes, that's the big to do, the place to go for the In and Outs.
Yeah, and then another one of my kind of favorite moments was Crispy Corey.
Crispy Corey? Oh my gosh. Or was it Charles Jr., whatever, like, yeah, all these different
Oh yes.
Was that something that you guys would do? I haven't watched or listened to all of your episodes, but was that something you guys would implement to like make sure nothing got copyright stricken or whatever?
So I will always parody places just because I think it's funny just to parody places, because I'm not like I don't make anything from doing this. I'm doing this just because I love it. So I'm not too worried about getting copyright struck, because I'm like, what money are you gonna get from me? I'm just Southern white trash basically. So at this point, and so, but I always say like so some places I've done, like there's the Starbucks in City Mist is called the Sun Dollar.
I love that.
Let me see. The Waffle House is Syrup Shack.
Love it.
Taco Bell is Burrito Chime.
Yes.
And then just trying to think. Instead of a Burger King, it's Chicken Queen.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Because that was one of my one shots I did with another podcast. That was one of the issues was the Chicken Queen prices are too high.
The Chicken Queen. Oh my gosh, I love that.
So yeah, I'm just naturally. Oh, and then a game I ran before I even started this. Instead of Hot Topic, it was Goth Pop It.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun.
So yeah, and if I do if I make NPCs that are supposed to be like clear parodies of like in real life people, I will always just like switch up the name somehow.
Yeah.
One way or another. I haven't done it too much, but there's just been some funny moments. Like, so in my Demons Across End case, so one of the characters that's actually out of the case book, his name is Michael Amagi. And I thought the way that name played, I thought he was a Frenchman. So I started giving him a French accent.
Yes.
But my problem was I forgot that the French word for Mr. is Monsieur. And I thought it was, it's Signor. So in this French accent, this guy's going, Signor Declan, because one of the characters was Declan Lestrange from the pre-gen set.
Yeah.
And then apparently, and they didn't tell me this till like the very last session of the game I had apparently was wrong about this language the entire time. And then apparently Amagi is apparently a Japanese name.
Oh no.
So it was this. We had this whole. So after it was all said and done, we just came up. Okay, we gotta figure out what this guy's backstory is. So I think we said it was a Hispanic mother born in Japan that basically kind of flew all over the world and like took art studies in France.
Yeah.
So we have a Japanese-looking man who could speak Spanish, but also has a very thick French accent.
Oh my gosh, there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, that one kind of had to force my hand since I messed up, and they're like, "Oh, great, now y'all tell me."
Oh no, you're like, I'm in too deep.
Yeah. All right, so kind of moving away from rolling this for a second, let's get to know about Bex herself. So, as we stated, you are also an actress and a short film director. What started up that passion? Was it like what started that up for you?
Yeah. So as I like to put it, when I'm speaking to the press, I would say at a very young age, it's definitely, I don't know if it's the same thing for boys. It must be to some aspect, but like I know as a kid, me with my cousins, we were always like, let's play the pretend games. Of course, there's always, like, I'll be the princess, I'll be this, I suddenly we're cats, blah, blah. And like that was always the thing. It was those creating stories kind of games with friends and cousins when I was young that I, would get the most excited about. And that was something that we would return to periodically. And then eventually, nobody told me that you're supposed to age out of that. So there would be a point where I'm like, okay, I've got this new story and this is what I want, this is how I want it to go, or like blah, blah, blah. And my cousins would be like, you do realize we are 15, right? So I'm like, yeah. And then, obviously, I've grown up watching a lot of movies or TV shows and whatnot. So pairing that, and then I'm watching like Lord of the Rings, and I don't know, I think it was like the end of middle school or end of high school or something like that. And I just got hit with this wave of like, Mom, I should be doing this for a living. I need to be telling stories, like whatever that looks like. But I need that to be a part of what I do, for life, is working with other people to make stories happen, whatever capacity that ends up being. And so carrying that into college was when I really started getting into or had more training, I should say, and an experience of writing, editing. I had the friends and, the resources in college to be like, hey, let's make something really stupid, and then let's throw a premiere for it. And I did, very small scale, like absolutely no budget. I paid people in coffee. But that was where I started like cutting my teeth on the film process. And even though my projects were, again, low budget, I even watching them today, I'm like, I can still see that potential that was there. And I genuinely enjoyed the process of being both behind and on camera. This is still something I feel very strongly about. So, after my training and getting, my degrees and whatnot, I was like, okay, let's continue this on to LA, keep the learning, keep the, making connections and just seeing what projects we can make with people. And I'm happy to say that, even though this is like any serious career, it's going to take forever, as it sometimes feels. I'm doing what I love with the people that I've met, and I enjoy that. And again, I would say I'm not sure how the career part of things will end up looking, but I'm so happy to say that I'm still making my projects and to be connected to the Odd Boys and helping them with theirs. It's such a wonderful community out here. I'm really glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, so I like that you brought up Lord of the Rings, because I was beginning to think about, so most neighborhoods in suburbia, it seems like every neighborhood has at least one giant pile of just straight up dirt that the neighborhood kids would play on. And I remember my preteen years at the height of the original Lord of the Rings movies. A bunch of us would go up to that dirt hill, and we would all be Uruk-hai, orcs, and elves all fighting each other.
Yes, I love
just
that.
Running dirt up and down this grassy, dust-filled hill with large sticks, trying not to poke each other's eyes out. And I've always been, because I have autism, I have always shared that with people, very open about it on my podcast. I've always been more creative-minded.
Yeah.
And that's really what I think really got me into City of Mist and just Powered by the Apocalypse type games in general, is because of that almost a free-flowing narrativity that you can mess with in a lot of these games, especially with City of Mist. That's what really drew the game to me the most. And like I said, if it wasn't for you got me finding your podcast at the start of the year of our wonderful Lord and Savior, COVID-19.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be doing this, like I said. So, yeah, I just love that. And I think it's funny. It's like you say, like, oh, we're supposed to age out of this. I'm like, we age at this point.
We still age. You all are still aging.
I mean, my body, yes. My mind, not so much. I still have immature 12-year-old mindset sometimes.
Oh, no, I absolutely agree. I mean, that's what keeps the creativity alive, you know. I don't want to just punch in, punch out at a job. I'm like, how can I just play games? I just want to keep playing games. That's it.
Yeah, I prefer, like, my job is a more physical one, which I greatly prefer than just having to sit at a desk and staring at a screen for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
Just because I can't keep myself still or focused long enough to be able to do something like that.
Oh yeah.
So I prefer to be up. I prefer to be moving, and I have no problems just getting down and dirty if I have to. So.
Oh yeah.
It's like, that's kind of like a typical man thing though at the same time. But at the same time, I don't think like a lot of guys like me were like, I would rather do that in the 100-degree warehouse than sit in an air-conditioned cubicle.
Yeah. I mean, I obviously I don't know too much about the male experience, but I mean, people are built different. I think just you know, some like it to be or like, I guess sedentary. You know, to be like, I don't have to worry about anything except this small space. And then some guys are like, nah, I don't care if it's uncomfortable. I'd rather like move a bunch of heavy stuff.
Yeah, that is a fair point. I do agree with that. It does depend highly on the person. It's just, I guess I'm also thinking like kind of majority over minority kind of type deal too. So majority of guys, yes, but then again, there's also that. So you are correct on that. And so, going back on topic again, tell us about some of the projects you've done.
Yeah. So let's see. So like I said, in college, it was more just like, let's just film something. And one of my buddies who she's not necessarily into film, but she is into writing. You know, it was like during winter break in college, and we had both agreed like, hey, I think we can film something. We did this crazy week of like, okay, the first night we stayed up almost all night just writing this script with little to no editing. And then the next day I start sending out texts and emails of like, hey, we are going to do this thing. I want you to be a part of it. So I casted it of like, I don't know, 20 people. And then recasted it over the next few days because, you know, people's schedules changed. And then, you know, we were still obviously in college, so we're like, okay, easy, that's our location, we're just gonna make it work, whatever that looks like, we're gonna make it work at this college for our film location. And then finally that weekend, people showed up. We did 2 days of filming, and I mean, it was wild. I didn't have any experience of really directing. I have light experience of directing at this point. I'm just a naturally kind of bossy person if I get to sit in that seat. So I was able to coordinate, and my buddy was there to assist, and we were both acting in this project. And so by the end of the week, we had everything filmed and wrapped. And then I to I would say it's very apropos for me. I took like a year to edit. Because I was like, I don't want to touch this. That was a crazy week. I'm tired. But after that year, we did our premiere. You know, we had a little red carpet action going on. We all met in one of the classrooms at college, used the projector. We had like 30 people show up. And even though the sound quality was terrible, there were a lot of laughs. And the cast and our friends showed up. And it was really, really inspiring to be like, hey, even though this is like, you know, I mean, to be realistic, it's not much if you were to compare it to a lot of other projects that are out there, but this is something, and this is something I'm excited about. We ended up making a sequel and did the same thing the next year. And again, exciting and inspiring, and being like, okay, and we've learned a little bit, you know, so the quality was upped, you know, a little bit more. Still a little trouble with audio because for whatever reason we were only filming when it was rainy and windy. but we made something happen, and that was really cool. And after those two, I would say, like, yeah, bigger projects, I guess you could say. And it was closer to my time to moving out here. One of the things I also did was I collaborated with my brother, who's a musician, and also, you know, he's a videographer. We worked together to make like a music video. I gave him a prompt for a song, and he created it. And then I reached out to my friends who I knew that like were awesome dancers. Like, you know, I have a team that's been touring around California, and, you know, I was like, hey, you know, would you guys be able to I'm looking to do something just artsy, you know, some visual fun stuff. I can work on like the costume aspect. I may have a cameo in this thing, but I just want to film something. And it ended up being a really cool music video that, like, the concept is just kind of it's called Theta, which is kind of like that mind state when you're, you know, going to be creative, and it was kind of like my take on what that might look like. And that was just something I did before coming out to LA. Once I was in LA, I did some horror film festivals, little 15-second things, and then I met the AWDLoot boys, and we've just been kind of working on like projects for them, projects for me, that are still in development. But again, looking forward to just having something out there and working with other people while I'm doing it.
All right, and that makes me think of a question. So, are there any future plans for the Rolling in the Mist podcast, or is AWDLoot wanting to move on and try other things now at that point? Because I know, like, just in the TTRPG community, it's been all the craze about games other than D&D now at this point. So I'm just curious about, are we going to be seeing more from Rolling in the Mist at some point, or are we going to be able to hear some new things coming from the AWDLoot crew?
Well, I know, you know, we do love Rolling in the Mist. We do want to do more of that. But we also, I mean, you know, Kevin puts in a lot of work, for these things. And I know whatever he, you know, I guess workload wise, we want to be considerate of that. But then there's also, you know, AWDLoot does so much more than just, you know, tabletop games. So we are looking into short films, and we've discussed other games too. So yes and no. Yes, we're already talking about more rolling, but then we're also going to see what we can put out this year that's different and you know, other genres for us.
So I was just thinking about, like, if y'all decide to move on to another game, what would be a really funny idea to see happens if someone was taken out of the player seat and thrown into that game master seat. Like, go up to problems like, oh, you think that Chris is a dumpster fire? Then here, you could be the dumpster fire change kind of deal.
Oh my gosh, just switch roles like that. Well, I mean, the dumpster fire, Oh, the dumpster fire. Poor Chris. Oh my gosh. He does wonderful work. No wonder he's asleep. You know? But I know the guys give him a hard time. Oh my god.
But I could see Pablo or Ryan like taking over the game master seat and like running a game. I could see them being good. Like give Kevin Carpenter a chance to play for once, because I know what it feels like to be a forever DM at this point. So I've only been a player in like 2 games myself, so it's like I don't get the chance to play that often either. So
yeah. No, I agree. I would say with my home brews, with just like my friends in life, I definitely express, hey, you know, I want to make sure I don't get stuck in this role, because I honestly have more fun playing than DMing or GMing. So yeah, I mean, I think at least Bravo. I know Pablo's very busy, you know, because he's got his own businesses and whatnot. I think it would be fun to have Bravo be the GM, and also maybe give him a little bit of a taste of his own medicine. He's always giving Kevin such a hard time on everything. Oh my gosh. Although no, I know he would take it like a champ. He would be able to roll with the punches. He's very good at that.
Yeah. So many good moments from both seasons that I will always never forget. Just amazing. And then, well, another thing that I literally just remembered to see y'all do is, I know you, Ryan, I think one of the other members of your crew sometimes do Twitch streams.
Yes.
And so I just thought that was fun too, that you all, like, you're this multifaceted group of people, like, oh, we do tabletop RPGs. We're also big video game nerds as well.
Oh my gosh. Just nerds all around. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Bravo's been getting back on the streaming. I know I'm not able to do streaming right now, but I have my roster of games that I will very excitedly be streaming when I can. It's just like, you know, schedule, life stuff. But yeah, keep an eye out for just, I think it's just _Bravo. And then for mine, you can find me anywhere. Daspex again. I like to keep it simple and consistent, so, you know, I'm not trying to be a mystery here.
All right. Let me think if there's anything else I want to hit on, or is there anything else you want to talk about?
I mean, I'm pretty content. I can't think of anything right now that I'm like, I need the people to know. Yeah, I don't know.
It's like I just always keep tying back to just how great Say a Mist as a Git system is, and just how much fun it was listening to Rolling in the Mist the first time I discovered it. Just all the fun moments, and just another funny moment I just thought of, Corey's what's it called? Bedazzled. Her bedazzled hazmat suit that they wore before they went to the sewers.
Oh yes, because she couldn't just have a hazmat suit. It had to be pink, bedazzled. Yes. Everything. I imagine, you know, wherever she goes, just picture her pink and sparkling. You know, like the rosé. That's it.
Yeah, it made me think of that rock movie Game Plan, where he's got the daughter and she's bedazzling all his clothes.
Yes, so good. I love that movie. So cute. Oh, here's something. If people want to keep an eye out, I know Jason and I have been talking about what merch AWDLoot can put out, especially for like Rolling in the Mist, because there were so many key moments. I'm working on some designs for, like, you know, shirts or mugs or whatnot. Personally, I'm looking forward to a Corey mug that says, I don't drink anything I don't get carded for. That is going to be my mug that I will just live with forever. So absolutely keep an eye out for that. We will be figuring out how to make that ordering, I guess, system work.
Yeah, definitely High with the Crime Family needs to be on the shirt or mug, hands down.
Yes.
And then as soon as, because they mentioned this in the first season, I'm still waiting for the shirt. Keep calm, use veteran doctor's calm.
Oh, yes.
Bravo abused the crap out of that power tag so much.
Veteran doctor's calm. He did. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So
definitely need to listen to that again.
Yeah, I am. So once that shirt finally gets put out, I will be buying that immediately. So
absolutely, yeah, I'll bring that to the team.
And then just like a AWDLoot logo shirt in general would be something cool to own too.
Oh yeah, we do actually. We had the test printout for those, so I'll be checking with Jason to see where we're at with that.
Okay, so I got a fun one that we can do, and this is one I go into a set that I like to call the hot seat.
Okay.
This has been brought up a few times. It's been talked about on the show, but I'm interested to hear your kind of the thoughts and opinions on it. So, for the longest time, a lot of people would describe the tabletop community as being very male dominated, and which I do agree with.
Mm-hmm.
But we see now that, especially as the year that I've been around in this community, I see so many different other kinds of creators, female included now.
Mm-hmm.
Because like literally one of the one shots I've done was for a podcast called Swords and Sky Mommies, and they're all female.
Yeah.
Hands down. So I got to run a game for 5 chaotic females in this group. And it was a blast though, all around. Love them all.
Yeah.
But one of the other ones I've done is there's another group called Chromatic Roses, and they're like a tips and tricks tabletop podcast.
Right.
And one of the things they said that even though there's been all this change, it's like some of these same like known women that are in the community are also like getting attacked at the same time, which I completely disagree with as well. So I'm just kind of interested, like just as being Bex in being one of the boys basically with Rolling in the Mist. What are kind of your thoughts and feelings about that?
Yeah, as being a woman in the gaming podcast community. Let's see. Well, I mean, I think it's I would say there is, I mean, a little bit of feeling of like, do I need to prove myself to be here, or can I just play? But I would say the Odd Boys are very good at, like, they've been very welcoming and very supportive. So for my experience with them, it's been very encouraging, and I would say, like, as far as the feedback in like social media for our show, the community's been very supportive there as well. So I mean, obviously that's just my experience. I know that there can be differences, but I'm very happy to say that the Odd Boys very supportive, and the fans have been super supportive too. Like you, it's been so great to hear you guys share your thoughts on what's going on in the show.
Yeah, so one of the things that I stated when I started was tabletops are supposed to be for anyone of every race, belief, or gender.
Yeah.
As everyone should be able to come, sit down at the table, and just have playing a fun game. That's always been my belief. And when I was on Twitter for the short time I was, because it's toxic, and I got flack for that. Which I thought was like, really? This very positive message that I shared, you disagree with.
Yeah.
I got so much flack for that. And then people try to attack me for it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm leaving Twitter. And so I stay as far away from that, and I just stayed on Instagram, and I've been a lot more positive feedback on that than I've had anywhere else. So,
yeah, well, I'm glad you found a place that was more, I guess, agreeable. Yeah, and it's so weird because it's like, guys, it's just a game. It's just a game. It's purely entertainment, joy, something you do with your friends. I don't understand where the hostility comes from. But I mean, obviously that's to each person, that comes from something that, like, who knows what their path is, why they're this way. But I would say, at least in more recent times, more often than not, people are pretty supportive. You know, I see a lot of cosplays done by both men and women. I've listened to mixed podcasts, you know, of men and women playing together. And just in general, whoever wants to play, you know, it's fun to listen regardless of who they are or whatever their story is. You know, as long as they're having fun, I'm gonna have fun. So that's where I sit.
Yeah, one of the things I will always state is that I may not always agree with everything that people say in this community. We all may have differing opinions or and disagreements, but that's okay as long as you can still, at the end of the day, sit down at the table and just have a good time with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I, under the personal belief that all that stuff that happens outside of the table should not be brought into the table unless it's like you're playing around like a certain theme, kind of like, sort of. Because some people will do that.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Other than that, like for my stories that I run, it's just I want everyone to have fun. Let's solve a mystery, figure out if the butler did it or not, and that's that basically.
Yeah. And I think I mean I absolutely agree. And yeah, people can just be they're just peopling really hard, you know. But yeah, no, I appreciate that question and your outlook on it as well.
I'll try to get us out of this now depressing mood that I accidentally put us both into. So, did you have any other? Just because I know I like to just create characters still on the side every now and then. Because like it's funny that you brought up Harley Quinn because the character concept I did is because it was based off a Harley Quinn podcast that's out there now. Is a female pimp with the rest of the Carney Clown. And her getup is almost similar to Harley Quinn's, and she's got that giant hammer as well. So,
oh, that's so fun! Like, is the question? Do I make up characters? Do
you have any other characters that you've also like to toy around with? As like, ooh, this would be a fun character to like play as kind of deal. Yes.
Oh yes. I don't want to give like too much away, in case they do make it into a show. But I would say like a lot of my characters, if I'm not just drawing it out based off of a prompt, a lot of my characters come from conversations I have with people and just kind of like a bit that might take on a life of its own. And I would say one of those that I would love to bring to life for a show and just see how it goes is that inner voice of like, you know how, I mean, I'm sure you have experience, or a lot of us have experience of like customer service. And there's the you that you put out when you're like being that customer service person. And then there's the real you when you're like off the phone or you're off the clock. And I just want to have a character that there's no real customer service persona. She is who we all like, you know, all of those like, you know, frustrations and whatnot. She doesn't have any qualms of just like having that be present, and that's her personality. Like there's, you know, I'm like, how can I play with that where she's just someone that takes no crap, but it's like that. Oh, and I don't want to give too much away. Okay, I will say, and this is fine. There would definitely be some Aubrey Plaza like inspiration for sure, but I have some twists and quirks for her personality that I think would just be really fun to bring to City of Mist or another tabletop game.
Yeah, like whenever I always have a character concept, I have an artist buddy of mine that's done a lot of the character artwork that's on my Instagram page. I'm just like, hey, here's this idea. Can you do it? And so, like, I've done, let's see, I got a high school student that's a rift of Joseph with the coat of many colors for the relic.
Oh, nice.
I have a street magician that's the rift of the Scarlet King SCP.
Yeah.
And then the newest one I'm kind of working on is the City of Mist version of John Wick, but he's got the rift of Baba Yaga.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
in the John Wick movies, the bad guys refer to him also as like the boogeyman and Baba Yaga.
Yep, exactly.
And one of the ideas they talked about, like, oh, his weapons are stored in Baba Yaga's chicken leg hut, so he has an enclave thing of the chicken leg hut.
Amazing. I love that.
All right.
So good.
Well, I think we're about to wrap this up here a little bit. Would you like to shout out where people can find and listen to you?
Yeah. If anyone wants to find me for the streams, find me on Instagram. Just say hi. You can find me Das Mexican. That's DAS, and then that's Mexican with a B, so BEXICAN. Yeah. Say hello. If you have any questions, I'm all ears or eyes, as you will be messaging me through an app. But yes, that's pretty much it. I'm more than happy to say hello back.
All right. And once again, make sure you check out the Rolling in the Mist podcast on whatever preferred podcasting platform you listen to. They are still going strong with season 2, and I'm looking forward to hearing more from them, as always. And then, as always, as well, you can find me on Instagram at MistUnk Podcast, MISTUNK Podcast. And if you want to email and talk to me that way, you can always email me at mistunkpodcast@gmail.com. This was really great, Bex. I'm glad we got to do this, and I look forward to hearing more from you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.